Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Kevin Allen, I'm the CTO for Probax, and we're also lucky enough to have Anthony Spiteri on this webinar with us. He's the technical evangelist for Veeam software, and he'll be able to add some additional insights into Veeam. So the webinar is called Everything You Need to Know About Probax and Veeam Agent for Windows. That's exactly what we'll be going over, showing MSPs exactly how to benefit from this awesome piece of software. So I'll let Anthony kick off the presentation, and if you have any questions, pop them in the box and we'll have some Q&A time at the end. So take it away, Anthony.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for Probax for having me on this webinar. So I just want to start off a little bit about talking about Veeam's vision here for the always-on availability. So, Kevin, you just want to click through the slide. It's got a few bits coming up. Yep, there we go. So what we're talking about here is our vision around any infrastructure being able to have applications available and having them backed up. So whether you are a VSP, an MSP, on-premises location, whether you're using SaaS-based applications or whether you're using cloud-based applications, Veeam's really looking to be the always-on availability provider for those services, whether it be file, app, VM, and physical. Okay. Click through, Kev. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, and really the reason why that exists, why we're looking at that availability platform, is to fill some gaps. And the gaps that exist in the market today revolve around availability gaps. So when we took a survey, we saw that 82% of enterprises have this availability gap, which effectively means that they are not confident with regards to being able to restore workloads when they fail. The cost of this gap globally is, $22 million when you look at it in terms of protection gaps, and 66% of enterprises need to have their digital transformation efforts slowed by these availability gaps. So what we're trying to do with the agents is really bridge that gap by adding options to back up workloads that typically were a little bit more challenging to back up. And as we go through this next slides, we'll see what that actually means. So Kev, do you want to click through? So superseding that first slide, what we have is the Veeam Availability Platform. And that really comes in together with our Veeam Availability Suite, which is our backup and replication piece, also Veeam One. And then we have a few other new pieces which we've introduced over the last 12 months, which is our Veeam Backup for Office 365, the Veeam Availability Console, and the agents for Linux. And specifically in regards to what Probax have been doing, they really use the cornerstone of the Veeam Availability Suite, plus Availability Console, and especially the Windows agents. So Kev, do you want to just move to the next slide? And agents is an interesting one. So typically, or historically, Veeam has been an agentless company. So we were born in the world of virtualization. Veeam Backup Replication does agentless backup really well for both VMware and Hyper-V. So all of a sudden, we're saying that the agents is actually a really interesting way to look at being able to back up workloads. And the reasons why this actually exists and why you look to use agents is because, in effect, there's a gap that exists for physical workloads. So we look at physical workloads, and historically that's where this need for this agent solution came into play. But as we evolved over the last couple of years, we really thought that these agents had their place more in the cloud world. Okay, lots of companies, lots of your customers are putting their workloads in public clouds, or even private clouds or smaller service provider clouds. Those workloads are not backed up by default, or those backup solutions that exist in those public clouds, the hyperscalers and whatnot, are not as good as what would be required to fill that availability gap that we're talking about. So the agent really is there to look to interact with public cloud workloads and also physical servers and workstations. But obviously we want to kind of stress that agentless is still superior if you're doing virtualized backups. And obviously all that is still covered by Probax in terms of being able to back up with Cloud Connect. But in terms of the opportunity, if Kev just moves to the next slide, the opportunity that exists here is if we look at this scenario. So we've got Probe on the left-hand side. They offer Cloud Connect backup, they offer Cloud Connect replication, but now they're obviously offering this agent-based service as well. And again, they utilize our technologies, the Cloud Connect technology, which is the Cloud Gateway, the Veeam Availability Console, and Veeam Backup and Replication. On the right-hand side, you can see we've got a couple of different locations. We've got on-premises and we've got public cloud locations. If we focus on that on-premises bit first, we can see that when we're now possible to back up workloads in on-premises to Probax that we weren't able to before. So historically with Probax, with Cloud Connect, we could use Veeam Backup and Replication to actually back up virtualized workloads. With the agents now, we can actually look to extend that to back up server instances and also workstation instances. If we look at the public cloud, which is on the lower right-hand side, we now see the opportunity here to actually tap into this resource or this revenue stream that otherwise didn't exist. So with the agents being able to back up into Probax, you guys can now tap into Windows and Linux systems that are on, say, IBM Linux, Windows Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. But also, obviously, any other cloud where workloads exist. Because the agents are in-guest, you've now got the opportunity to generate revenue and back up those workloads. So I guess overall, we look to guys like Probax to be able to offer the services and then the platform, which is the Veeam Availability Platform, build great services on top of that and mechanisms, and Probax has certainly done that. And what that then does is allow you guys to generate revenue to be able to back up for your customers and drive services around backing up on-premises locations and private cloud. So with that, I think Kev's going to take you through a little bit about the specifics about how they've been able to achieve this and how you guys can leverage it. So with that, I'll hand it back to Kev.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for that, Anthony. That was some great info and insight into how Veeam fits in and how they've been progressing since BNR and into agents. So yeah, awesome. So just for those that don't know, I'm just going to go through quickly what Probax is. So we're a cloud backup and disaster recovery management platform. We allow MSPs to monitor backups from leading backup vendors all in one place. So of course today we're only going to be covering Veeam, who we've been working with for many years, not just with backup but with DR as a service. So our aim is to unearth and solve issues with your backups before you're even aware of them. Whether it's services that are turned off, your client's ADSL connection causing issues, or an incremental that's been deleted. So our agents will go out there, fix it up, and basically just leave free time for your engineers to for their more important duties. So we launched our Sydney cloud location in April last year at Equinix. We use NextDC in Melbourne, we use Vocus in Perth. MSPs have the ability to do emergency restores directly from all DCs. We have a number of external hard drives that we keep plugged in so that when you do an emergency restore, we can start the copy straight away to one of our drives. Then the DC staff can collect it and hold it, and all you need to do is turn up with your ID to pick up the drive. So since my last webinar, we've also launched DC locations in South Africa, London, and North America, just in case your clients have those requirements as well. So as you can see here, a bit about our growth since we started. So it's been quite a while that we've been going for now. I've also shown here, so what was always really interesting to me is the 167 petabytes that we manage across our data centers. But now that we're using our agents to manage the local backups, we also have an additional 330 petabytes under management on local sites as well, so we can monitor, keep track of them, make sure that that the local backups are doing what we think they should be doing as well. So we've got more than 200 MSPs in our Australian partner community as well. Okay, so what we're doing is, so as an overview to our solution, so we've got an end-to-end business continuity solution. So as we start off, we've got control. So that's our single pane of glass view, so our management console. You can view all your clients' backups, no matter what backup software it is. This sits on top of our high-performance storage and is accessed through the backup software, so such as Veeam Cloud Connect. We've also got our Hive devices. They act as your customer's local image repository. It's remotely managed through Control and it integrates with Scout. We've got a range of sizes and functionalities available. We have Scout. So Scout is our standalone helper agent. So what this does is it automates tasks and is managed remotely, so you never need to log into your client sites. Basically, it compares your local data sets against what's in your cloud repositories, make sure that everything's there as we expect it, and it will repair any errors if it needs to, as well as providing remote management of your local sites. So it's been a revelation for our support team and many of the IT technicians we partner with. One great thing with Veeam Agent for Windows is it handles Scout handles deployment and remote management of all your endpoints. And the last piece of the puzzle is DR as a service, which some of you are already using, which is great. It's a fantastic feature of Veeam version 9, and we can obviously help you out if you have any requirements for that too. So in terms of outcomes for MSPs, so how we relate to these outcomes and outcomes that can be delivered to customers with confidence. So we've got increased automation. So we give MSPs the ability to create ease of scale, increased levels of operational efficiency. We aim to discover and fix issues with your backups before you even know they're there, and at least provide a straightforward fix or even fix it for you. So with us, like going from 4 to 40 customers doesn't result in a 10-fold increase in work, which is great for you guys. Exceptional value, so we aim to bring enterprise tools to the market, so enterprise tools such as Veeam, at a highly competitive SMB price point. We charge one price for storage pulled across your customers, only pay for what you use, no hidden fees or lock-ins, so we don't charge data like data operations or withdrawal of data like you see in AWS as your public cloud, and our MSPs typically make between 40 to 50 points a margin. We've been providing cloud services since 2007. We've seen our platform develop over time to stay ahead of the curve. We can facilitate hybrid cloud, private cloud and public cloud migration. And our engineers work closely with partner MSPs to ensure the transition to Provax is pretty seamless. And the last one here is meet your customer security risk. So this was a big point that came up according to a survey by Kaseya. So MSP selected that mini security risk is the most important IT problem or service that their clients will face. So security lies at the heart of our platform with numerous redundancy and resiliency measures, and it's designed to safeguard client data from operational, environmental and intentional loss resulting in downtime. So we operate and we own and operate all of our servers, our networks, our infrastructure, and we hold the highest level of certification at each of the data centers we're in. So I'm going to cover these outcomes and how we work with Veeam, and today specifically I'll be going over Veeam Agent for Windows. So just covering that last point about the safety and security of our platform. So we only provide specific backup and DR connections that are allowed into our platform. We don't share our infrastructure with hosting platforms or other servers that could be deemed insecure. As I said, we own and operate all of our servers, networks and infrastructure. We hold ISO certifications through our DCs. Most of them have 27001 and 9001. We only allow secure ports to come through, so Veeam's port 6180, as well as the other backup software that we allow, and all of our external facing control and our API for Scout, they all communicate with SSL. So I guess the nature of data once it's in storage and why it's safe. So our storage clusters allow for up to half our nodes to be offline and still function as normal. So coming around to Veeam's I guess availability goal, we always make sure that your data is available. Our underlying file system is known for data integrity, and our processing farms continually check and recheck the data. So not when it first arrives, but every 7 days, just to verify the integrity of the data once it's at rest on our side. In terms of segregating the client data, so each storage tub is segregated on our multi-tenant platform. So no other users ever have able to access or gain access to this location without the username and password. And in terms of redundancies and resiliencies, so we all have active storage clusters. We've got multiple physical servers to provide load balancing and failover. And we've got multiple internet links as well. And we've got tons of bandwidth. So as much as you can throw at it, we can come in there. So for control, so that's our multi-tenant portal to manage your clients, monitor backups, and you can deploy services remotely. So it's a single pane of glass for you to monitor all your clients running different backup software. Just choose the DC location that's best for your clients, and it will automatically provision resources, whether it be storage or if you're doing DR, then it will provision CPU and RAM that you choose as well. We automate your billing, license purchase can be done through Control as well, and of course the monitoring of your backups and security of your customer data. So in terms of Veeam Agent for Windows, so the great thing about this product is although it's technically new, it is a very mature product that was initially released as a free endpoint product. So this has allowed thorough testing of the software and fixing all the bugs that you normally find in actual new software. Being backed by Veeam, obviously it's enterprise grade software as you'd expect. The cool thing is you can do system, volume and file level backup. And whatever you choose, you can always restore at the file level. So I really like being able to do a full system backup, but still being able to drill down easily and just pick out files that I need if I need to restore. So there's different editions of Veeam Agent. So we've got Server, which allows for application-aware processing, but you can run the Workstation edition to protect your desktops and laptops that might be out in the field. Another cool feature is Direct Cloud Connect access. So you don't need a local backup on your network or anything plugged in locally to run your next incremental. You can just back up straight to the cloud. So that's great for two reasons. As I mentioned, backing up laptops that are on the road, they don't always have access to where your local backup might traditionally be stored with other backup software. But the real advantage here is backing up straight out of hosted environments and public clouds, where you don't actually need a local backup storage. You can back up straight to the cloud. And obviously with public clouds, you don't have access typically to the hypervisor. So with Veeam Agent, you can just go straight from the guest straight to us with Cloud Connect, and nothing required locally. So from a risk management point of view, it's great. So not putting all your eggs in one public cloud basket, so to speak. And as we've all seen, the public clouds do have outages as well. So always good from a risk management point of view to just cover yourself there. So in terms of how we link Veeam Agent for Windows and the Probax platform together, so we've developed Scout. It's an application that we've developed in-house here. It was designed to automatically seek out and repair errors affecting your backups, as well as provide remote management. So I mean, knowing about your issues with your backups is good, but can be a hassle as more clients come on board, especially when you see repetitive errors across a number of clients. So the first generation of Scout was focused on detecting and repairing these errors that are contained in some of your popular backup software. Today I'm going to focus on the Veeam version here and how you can manage lots of sites with minimal effort. So Scout uses an SSL connection just so that the connection is always secure no matter what you're doing from your client site to us. So the basics of Scout with Veeam Agent and how to set it up. So it is really straightforward, and that's exactly how we've designed it. So it's automated deployment, licensing, and remote management. So it automates tasks and it manages your Veeam remotely. So you never need to log into client sites once it's set up. So all you need to do is log into Control. You create your storage tub where you want it, and then you generate a Scout link code. Then all you need to do is install download the Scout installer and link it up. And then what you'll see in Control is a little screen like this. And this is where you can check that everything's working okay, and then you can configure your Veeam Agent remotely. So from here we can see we can choose the edition that we're going to run. So whether it's going to be Workstation or Server, we can switch between the two depending on your requirements quite easily. Choose the number of restore points that you want to keep, and you can choose the backup start time as well. So if for whatever reason you decide you need to change any of these further down the track, it's not a case of logging into each site remotely and changing their local backups. You can do it all through Control, which is really cool. So in terms of the Veeam Agent for Windows software itself, so this is the main screen here. It gives us an overview of our most recent backups. So with Scout, we're automatically licensing the software, so you never need to worry about applying a new license key or anything like that. When we drill down and configure the backup, we can see we've got 3 different backup modes here. We've got entire computer, which we'd recommend. We can also do specific volumes of a system, or you can do a file level backup. So when you are backing up individual files, it is going to be a little bit slower because you have to read and write generally lots of smaller files. But it's really good if you're trying to keep costs down for your client and they only want their critical data backed up there. So that's really cool. In the destination, so we've got the different places you can actually back up to with Veeam Agent, and a great option for the latest version of Veeam is being able to back up directly to Veeam Cloud Connect repository, which is really cool. So in here we've got these fields. So these have all been pre-populated by our Scout. So it puts in all your details for the service provider as well as the credentials. It gives us our repository, which it automatically links up to. We can choose the number of backups that we want to keep here. As we see, this has already been set by our Scout. You can also enable the backup cache, which is really cool. So if you get a laptop that's out on the road and it doesn't have an internet connection but wants to do its next incremental, it can just cache that locally, and then the next time it connects to the internet, it'll just upload that and do what it needs to. We can also change like the time that it's going to run. Again, this is all managed by Scout, but this is what it would look like if you had to configure it all manually. So once you've had a backup run through in normal Veeam fashion, you can see specific details and times that each specific item has taken to run through, which is really good to get some insight on performance, say of like a network connection or speed of like local disk, things like that. When we're going to do a restore, we can literally open up a restore point and go, okay, I'm going to drill down and I'm going to restore some files here. So it's really easy. You can basically just right click and go restore. This is going to pull like files or folders directly from the cloud locally. You can choose to overwrite them or keep any files that are existing. If we're going to do a full system restore, we basically just choose the restore point that we want to restore from, and then we choose the disk mapping. So it's going to pick up the defaults here. There's obviously some advanced options if you want to use custom disk mapping. I've only got one option here, but basically it allows you to choose the disks and which volumes you want to restore where on those physical disks. So I guess, so going back to the slide that I had before, it is really an untapped opportunity for MSPs, especially with that public cloud scenario. So being able to get workloads, get their backups out of existing public clouds, assessing the risks that they have just by having them in one public cloud, and being able to move them into somewhere like some other cloud where they can, where you can be sure that you're covered. If your cloud goes down, you lose access to the backups as well. And the great thing is Veeam Agent for Windows license it free until the end of the year. You can use it with your Provax trial if you don't already have a trial account. If you don't already have an account with us, we can set you up a trial. And basically you can start using it straight away. Test it out is the best thing that I can recommend. So if you used Veeam software before, it's very easy to use. It's very straightforward, and it just works as advertised. So yeah, there's really no reason not to give it a go. So you can jump on our website and create a trial if you don't have an account already. So did anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask? I'm just going to open it up. So are there any issues or things to be aware of when running the endpoint backup on the same machine as Shadow Protect? I haven't seen any issues with that. Anthony, have you seen any issues there?
No, I don't think so, because it's independent. I mean, I guess if they're both doing VSS backups at the same time, that might cause issues, but apart from that, no, it should be good to go.
Cool. Yeah, I know Shadow Protect likes to sometimes take over the VSS responsibilities when it can, but yeah, I haven't seen any problems with that. Adam, is it possible to take incremental shots with the Veeam Agent? Yes. So I mean, like any normal backup, you take a full, and then it's just going to be incrementals from then on. You set your number of restore points, and when you reach those restore points, it's going to merge them into the base file.
Yeah, effectively it's like a forward incremental, if people know VBR.
Yeah.
There's a couple more questions there. Okay, let's take a look.
Support continuous incremental backups with a seed drive. You want to cover that one, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm trying to work that one out. Does Veeam Agent support continuous incremental backups with a C drive? I don't know what. Alan, do you want to just clarify that a little bit? I'm not sure. Kev, can you kind of understand what he's asking?
So I think Alan might just be asking if it's possible to seed. I mean, you're always going to be doing continuous incremental, so you're always going to be doing like just an incremental. You're never going to have to send a large file over. I mean, in terms of seeding, I believe that's on the near roadmap for Veeam Agent. Is that right, Anthony?
Yeah, it's on the near roadmap, so it can be today. There's actually a couple of forum posts and blog posts about how to actually achieve it. It's more of a workaround, but it actually can be done. So it can be done today, but certainly it's on the roadmap for, I think, even 2.1, which is just around the corner. So yeah, let's wait and see what 2.1 brings. But at the moment, it can do it. So maybe afterwards, Kevin, we might try and link to that forum post somehow in the notes.
Yeah. We can always send out a link to everyone that's attended here. So yeah. Neville, so the license costs after December, it depends based on the edition that you're going to run. In terms of, I don't have the actual numbers here, but one of our guys can send that out to you. In terms of comparison, it is much cheaper than other backup software, which is really good to see, and hopefully we'll see some Veeam adoption because of that.
Yeah. And Adam's also asked about the failing back to site. So I guess you're talking about recoverability there. So it's not a replica process. So it's a backup and restore process. So yeah, in terms of restoring files, Kevin showed the mechanism there through the restore window. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, Kevin, as well, I guess if you're backing up a whole machine, there's an ISO that can be generated as well, and you can redo that ISO, load it up on a physical, on a virtual. There's many ways to achieve that restore back to the site.
Yeah. So restore time on Veeam backups, they are actually very quick. So the way that the files are stored on our side is they're much larger, and we basically just drill into the specific parts we need. And the way that Veeam Agent indexes the backups as well makes the restore time really fast. So yeah, that's really good news from our side as well, Dan.
Yeah. Tristan's can Veeam Agent for Windows backup just the files on the server rather than the entire volume? Yes, indeed. So the file level backups probably for me one of the better features of this, and something that I think, especially for workstations and endpoints, can be utilized to drive those services revenue. So yeah, it works really well. So there's full volume, file level, and what's the other one, Kev? There's three. I should know it. It's escaped me by now.
System, volume, and file
level. That's the one. System level.
Yeah. So Neville, can you configure 2 backup jobs on the same server? No, you can't. But if you're talking about folder levels that you wanted to back up, then you just choose a folder file level backup, and then just pick the specific files or folders that you want to put them all in one backup set there.
And again, to that end, that's something on the roadmap that we're trying to work into future versions, probably not exactly the 2.x versions, but in future versions beyond that, is to do multiple jobs, especially if you want to do a local plus up to Cloud Connect, which is always an interesting idea. Now, there is actually a way to achieve that, and again, it's a bit of a workaround involving, there's a command line that is included with the agent, and you've got the ability to export different backup sets as an XML file. So if there's actually, again, a blog post, which I think we can post a link to, Kev, afterwards, which shows you how to actually achieve that using Windows scheduling and that sort of thing. But it can actually be achieved. It's just a little complicated.
Yeah, and I guess as the as the agent product evolves, that'll all be made a whole lot easier inside the software itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So verify the backup's been performed. So when you drill down into the restore point, you can I showed you all the different steps that have been taken, and one of those is just checking and merging, make sure that data has been performed. We then report on that inside control, and that becomes part of your reporting in there, as well as your email report, just so that you know that the backup is run through okay.
I think it was a cheeky question from Reese Hammond talking about Mac support. That's actually one of my big things that I'm pushing for. So you can be assured that we're pushing for that, and quite a few people are. But at the moment, it's not supported. No.
So no, I guess do you know the rough roadmap that might be on?
No, there is no roadmap at the moment for that, but it is a request that a lot of people keep on feeding back to the R&D team.
Yeah, cool. So Tristan, customer uses Veeam Availability Suite to back up a virtual file server. Is the file backup option only available in the agent for Windows?
If you're backing up using VBR and it's a virtual server, you're going to be able to do file level restores. I think that's kind of what he's asking there. So it's not only available in the agent for Windows, but what it obviously does, it allows more granularity to be able to select certain files and folders through the agent. Whereas if you're doing it through Veeam backup replication, you're going to back up the whole file server, everything included, because it's that point in time backup of that virtual machine.
Yeah. Yeah, so did that answer your question, Tristan?
Take off mine.
Cool. All right. I didn't miss any questions there, did I?
Don't think so.
No. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us. Let's see. Yeah. If you do think of any questions later, feel free to send them through. We'll send you out a link to the recording just in case you want to rewatch it, or if you want to send it on to anyone else. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Anthony, and thanks everyone else.
No problem, Kev. Thank you, guys.
Right. Thanks, guys.